and welcome to television. Live from the Capital Truth Theatre in Melbourne, Australia, it's As Seen on TV. Please welcome your host, Gavin Baskerville. Thank you very much for coming along. A few familiar faces in there. I think I met a few of you out the front there tonight, in front of the box office. Nice to see you. Thanks for taking the chance of coming in and seeing the show. I hope you enjoy the show, and I also hope that the show acts as a bit of an inspiration to you. An inspiration that perseverance and hard work do actually pay off. You see, when I started doing comedy 6 years ago, I set myself a goal. That goal, to have my own TV show by the year 2005. And here it is. My show is about TV. It's my TV show. Don't step on my dreams, no, I step on yours. How's that for a deal? So yes, the show is about TV, and what am I thinking? Hang on, sorry. How can we possibly do a show about TV without my personal watermark there? Or just sorry if that's in your way. Just a little G there for Gavin. I actually met the guy that invented the TV watermark. He's this big tall guy who liked wearing hats and sitting in front of people at movies. So there you go. But it's good to see you. Like I said, the show is about television. We won't be watching TV as such. We will be looking at it. We'll be seeing where it's come from and where it's going. And to help me in that endeavour, I'd like to introduce you to my co-host of sorts. This is the world's first fully interactive TV set. His name is Stevie, as in Stevie the TV. And why don't we just start off by saying a big hello to Stevie for us.
Hi.
Stevie. Excellent. Stevie, why don't you say hello to the people? Stevie, you want to say? Alright, well, okay, well, he doesn't actually talk as such, but he's still fully interactive. The way he works is basically he'll be providing visual support to whatever it is I'm talking about tonight. So, for example, we'll just run through and make sure he's working okay. If I was to mention televisions, for example, he should hopefully show us the pictures of some television. There we go. Oh, good on you, Stevie, he's working fine. If we were to talk about, I don't know, the commercial networks, perhaps, he will give us commercial networks, Stevie. Ah, beautiful. Make one more for luck. What if I was talking about Rove, for example? Maybe you'll... no, Rove, you know. Rove, you know, like Rove McManus, you know. You piece of shit. Oh, man, this thing better not be buggered. No, look, it's not funny, it's just very, very annoying. Oh, okay. You're back online? Alright, Stevie, you're cool. Alright, well, anyway, apart from some minor glitches, you should see that it should work fairly well. Now, of course, I did call the show As Seen on TV, and I guess some of you saw the flyers and posters and probably thought, I've never seen this guy on TV. What's he talking about? Well, the truth is I have actually been on TV. Sure, it amounts to about 5 minutes and nobody really saw it, but it's true. Here I was last year on Today Tonight, not getting chased down the street. I was actually co-editor of a book about responses from people about what they do if they ran into the country, and we got national exposure on that, which I was excited about until I realised this guy was on the same episode.
We're living in some third world country, or we're living in some Australia? What is it?
Yeah, I kind of took the shine off being on national television. I was also on national television on the ABC with the Raw Comedy National Final in the year 2000. Now they say that television adds 10 kilos. Can't quite work out why I only added it to my stomach, but you know, that's the way it goes. But anyway, so just to prove that I was on TV, and it kind of also emphasises how spurious that claim is. You know, you see it on advertising all the time, as seen on TV, but what does it mean? I mean, just because something's on TV doesn't mean it's good. I mean, some things on TV are quite depressing, some things are disturbing. And so it's a totally marked recommendation when you think about some of the horrific and horrible things that are actually on the TV sets today. So there you go. But I think we all kind of believed that for a long, long time. For many years it did sort of work. And I know that growing up that I believed it too. I thought if it was on TV it was good. I know for me though, the reason that I believed it was because, well, see, I grew up in Perth. So yeah, there we go. Oh, actually, no, sorry, Steve, that's not where I grew up. Where I grew up in Perth. Yeah, I grew up here. It's a little place called Maddington. Nothing very exciting ever happened in Maddington. To be fair, we did once have a bull run wild down the street. That was pretty exciting. Oh, and the Lions Club Santa came through once a year. Sometimes even at Christmas, which is nice. But generally, growing up in a place like that, it was pretty dull. And like I said, basically the whole world for us came through the TV set. That was our window to the world. And the thing about everything on TV was great. It was so much better than where I lived. I mean, the houses were bigger and always had staircases, which was really exciting. The girls were always better looking and didn't have babies at 17. The cars were cooler and could talk. Families were nicer and never touched each other inappropriately. Crime always got solved in an hour and everything finished on a freeze frame. So naturally, I thought, wow, how good is TV? How good is the real world out there? And so I was very heavily influenced by it. I didn't actually realise how much until recently, looking back on my life, and I realised that TV has kind of actually steered my life. You see, after growing up watching TV, obviously, I actually went on to study it at university. Now you know why I cut my hair short. Then I got a job at Channel 10 in Perth, which was good for a while. But eventually I decided to move to Melbourne, and I got a job at GTV9, which was good. My job there was to actually check the programs, watch them through. So I was basically getting paid to watch TV. A little bit like being on the dole. Then I got a job at Channel 10 News, which is great. I'm very happy in this photo because of this cool lanyard they gave us with the thing there. Very happy with that. And now I'm working freelance for the ABC. I don't have a security pass at the ABC. There they have a very sophisticated facial and voice recognition system. His name's Bill. He's a security guard. But that's how so yeah, basically, you can see there from that, well, my life has kind of been steered by TV in many directions. And I should point out though that just because my life's controlled by TV, that does not make me a TV junkie. Now a TV junkie, of course, Stevie, you've got a picture of a TV junkie here? Yeah, you can see yourself.
Excuse me, mate. Can I get a couple of bucks from you? But, no, I just need to register my vote for Australian Idol in there.
No, mate, I don't have any money.
Come on, mate. Give me some money, mate. I need to register my vote, mate. I'm going to fucking do some business myself. And then, come on, mate.
Kind of handed out one of those in Swanston Street, don't you think? Sorry about that. Yeah, but the TV junkie, as you can see, is kind of a gaunt, puffy-eyed sort of creature. It's very sort of annoying. Sorry. So yes, but I think, you know, in some ways we all have been TV junkies probably at some point in our lives, if we're not still today. Just to get an idea, I often like to do this little survey with the audience. Just if anybody want to yell out some of the shows they really liked as kids or as teenagers that really sort of inspired them. I really like Magnum PI, that's one of my favourites. And TJ and the Head of the Lego. Anybody want to yell out some? X-Files. We were young. Excellent. What other ones we have?
Star Trek.
Star Trek. Excellent. Gilligan's Island. Nice one. That's a different one.
Captain Planet.
Captain Planet. Oh, excellent.
Hero.
There you go. That's good. That's good. Yeah, cool. Got any other ones? What about when you're in your teenage years? Anything people will watch in teenage years? Number 96? Okay, Jump Street. There you go. Oh, that's good. I just wanted to get a bit of a cross-section because the thing that I find interesting each night is we always hear these varied sort of shows. You think about some of those shows, they're all quite out there and different and varied in their content. And this is the thing. If you look at TV today, one of the things that depresses me is that if you watch TV now, you'd honestly think there's like 4 jobs in the world. You know, cops, lawyers, doctors, and maybe cowboys if you include Cloud's daughters, yeah? Like, that's it, which is just crazy when you think of like, you know, all the jobs and all the professions that are out there. Why is it there's only 4 jobs that they bother making TV shows about? It's just crazy. I mean, why don't we take that up? I mean, instead of having ER, why don't we have something like, I don't know, IT? I think that'd be great, you know? You know, why don't we have CSI Miami? Why don't we have NQR Killside? Very mysterious things happen there. I think it'll be great. But this is the thing, you know, there's no imagination anymore, and the shows come up, and they're always copies of things too. You know, there's no imagination. Like we don't just get one cop show, of course, we get like a whole heap of them, and you know, they do stupid stuff like remember when Channel 7 changed their Pop Stars format to Pop Stars Live, so it was exactly the same as Australian Idol. You know, and they had like Ground Force, of course, when Channel 9 had backyard blitz and they changing rooms, so they had to make room for improvement. You know, they do these direct copies all the time, which is just so stupid. I just think it's really annoying, and I think these executives that obviously have no creativity. It would be terrible if those guys were around in the 80s when we were growing up, or when I was growing up anyway. I mean, it's like a show like The A-Team, you know, which was a huge hit. And see, if that happened today, like if you hit the other stations and go, oh, we've got to do our own little rip-off. Let's have the B team. Yeah, that'd be great, you know. And of course, it'll be a terrible cheap rip-off. But instead, they have to do it now, or they think they have to do it now, because of, they're fighting for the ratings, you know. And they figure if one station's getting ratings, we've got to get the ratings too. The way they fight over the ratings, they're like seagulls on a chip, aren't they? So, you know, they're squawking and carrying on when they win. Which I guess in that analogy kind of makes SBS and ABC a bit like that seagull that hangs back and pretends it's only got one leg, tries to get a sympathy chip. Yeah. But the ratings too, you know, I think we all sort of know that the ratings have become a bit of a joke and they're not really taken seriously. But unfortunately, I don't think anybody's let the network management in on the gag, because they still love the ratings and they still like live by them, which I find fascinating. Has anybody here ever actually had a ratings box in their house? Oh, this can't see through the lights. Yeah. You actually had one? How recently? Or was it a long time ago?
Oh, we had it for about maybe about 6 years, about 4 years ago.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, that's fairly recently, but I've had a few people that had it like 15 years ago or so. So, yeah, and any reason they got rid of it? Why you got rid of it? You just...
Oh,
You're bored with it? Okay, well, that's all right. No, because I'm really curious, because I haven't been able to find out too much about it. It's quite a secretive process. All I know is there's about 700 houses in Melbourne that have the rating box in them. And I'm not entirely sure how they're selected. Judging by the fact that Dancing with the Stars is still rating well, I'm thinking they're not using an IQ test anymore. I don't know whether they did. Maybe that's why you weren't allowed to have it anymore. They went, you know, clearly you guys know what you're doing. You wouldn't have rated watched that, would you? It's pretty amazing. That show's doing really well. Its rating is like number 2 in the ratings still. It's just incredible, which I suppose, you know, it's understandable. I mean, how could it go wrong? It's got the 2 most entertaining elements in the world: ballroom dancing and second-rate Channel 7 personalities. How could it fail? But of course, like I said, the rating, it's interesting too, because like I said, when they gave you, they get the houses what's called a people meter. Now, you probably know what that is. See, I couldn't find out what a people meter looks like. Stevie, you don't know what a people meter looks like, do you? Very funny. Being the one-eyed, one-horn flying purple people meter, yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, well, anyway, they take the people meter and they put it on and connect it to your TV, and the idea is it keeps track of what time you're watching, what channels you're watching, you know, who's watching, they can keep track of that, and then they take that information and they use that to extrapolate out and work out what Australia as a whole is watching. And fair enough, the networks get quite excited when a show rates well. And, you know, fair enough, you obviously think that if a show is rating well, it must be fairly popular. My only question there is, what's the first thing you do after you turn on your TV set and sit down in front of it? What's the first thing you generally do? You flick. That's right. Flick through the channels. I know that's what I do. Sit down in front of the TV. I'm usually going CSI, OC, ABC, SBS, NCI. Sorry, I'm not choosing a show here. I'm actually just looking at the board on Wheel of Fortune. Buy them out! But no, you flick through, right? But how do you think about the process though? You don't choose a show. You generally eliminate, don't you? You tend to go, no. Oh, nude people on SBS. Oh, the subtitles are in the way. No. You know, and so when you think about that, you kind of, like I said, you're more eliminating than choosing. Nobody sits down on Tuesday night and goes, oh, it's Tuesday night, it's 8:30. Before I turn on the TV, I said, oh, gee, I really hope there's a cop show on. I feel like a cop show. Oh, there's 15. How lucky is that? You know, like, you don't, that's not how you choose. Like I said, it's a process of elimination, which I find interesting because, see, every other industry in the world generally uses market research to define what people want and how to sell it. Oh, yeah, good one, Stevie. Yeah, but they get panels of people, they talk to different demographics, they see what they respond to best, and they ask people what they want. But the TV networks don't. They rely solely on the rating system to work out what people want, even though we're only really choosing from, or more importantly, eliminating from what they give us in the first place. To draw an analogy, I decided to do my own little study. What I did was I got 5 fairly ordinary Australians that represented Australia, you know, fairly well, and then I locked them in a cupboard. Now I left them in there for 4 days, and when they came out, they were understandably a bit tired and a bit hungry. So I thought I'd better give them some food, so I gave them a choice of broken glass, some used gaffer tape, and some deep-fried dog's balls. And then I studied the results. Surprisingly, nearly all of the respondents went for the deep-fried dog's balls. So should I conclude from my little survey that Australians really want to eat deep-fried dog's balls? Maybe I should rush out and start a new franchise. I mean, after all, according to my study, Australians really want to eat deep-fried dog's balls. But of course, that would be ridiculous, because all my study shows is that when faced with a choice between broken glass, used gaffer tape, and deep-fried dog's balls, the dog's balls look like an attractive option. So that doesn't really say people want to eat deep-fried dog's balls, it's really saying they don't want to eat broken glass and use gaffer tape. Of course, every study has its anomalies. No accounting for taste. But generally, like I said, this is kind of how the ratings work when you think about it. They're really only showing us what people don't want to watch rather than what they do want to watch. So if all the stuff that's on TV is comparatively dog's balls, why do we keep watching? Well, we'll find out the answer to that question after the break.
Tonight on 10 at 7 o'clock, it's your all-time favourite Simpsons episodes. At 7:30, The Simpsons Hour, followed at 8:30 by The Simpsons Encore presentation. At 9:30, it's an all-new Simpsons time slot. 153! 153! Do you want to look cool and hip and have everyone like you? Well, you need a screensaver on your phone. Just text the words, "My stupid parents bought me a mobile phone" to 153 153. Everyone will like you.
And we're back. Of course, ads are very annoying, but I think most of you would probably agree that more annoying is when they say that awful thing. We'll find out after the break. And so many shows are doing it now. In fact, nearly all of them are doing it now. Of course, it was originally brought to our attention by the wonderful Eddie McGuire, watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Thanks, Steve. Now, I don't know about the show. For some reason, I found myself watching it, and I couldn't really work out why. I mean, after all, why should I care if somebody I've never met, and probably never will win money on it? You know? But I found myself watching it, and not only watching it, but actually hanging around after the break to find out what happens. Well, for a few reasons. A, I want to find out the answer to the question, because I've been debating it with myself for the last 20 minutes. B, I want to find out if this guy's going to win it. But I'll lock in C, because for some reason, if I happen to have got the answer right, I get this stupid little ego boost and convince myself that I could have won the money. And of course, D, I can find the remote control. And the thing is, this is what they do. They kind of keep luring me back. And I started thinking about some of the other shows that I was watching, and I realised that I didn't really like any of the shows that I was actually watching. I found myself watching shows like renovation shows. Now, I have no interest in renovation. I'm no good with power tools. I'm useless. In fact, I live in a rental flat. I have nothing in common with renovation, and yet I found myself, getting all excited about people ripping up floorboards and knocking out windows and stuff. I lost my bond because I put blue tack on the walls. It's completely irrelevant to me. I can't even get my head around the money they spent. I saw one show, they redid a kitchen, it was one of the auction shows, they redid the kitchen and they're going, great, we did it ourselves and it only cost us $33,000. $33,000. Well, that sort of money, I'll be damned if I'm doing it myself, In fact, for $33,000, I reckon I want to see naked women building my bathroom for me, it's just a bit extra. But I realise what they're doing. See, if they show me a rundown house that, looks a bit like where I live, and then say they're going to make it all up and turn it into a luxurious palace and stuff, well, I'm going to want to keep watching. I want to find out what it looks like at the end. If they show me an ugly person, for example, and tell me that through the wonders of plastic surgery and 5 gay guys, they're going to make him look good, again, I'm going to hang around to the end to see the dramatic transformation. Because, this is the thing, it's part of our human nature that we want to know the answers to things. It's like saying with Eddie, if they ask a question, you want to know the answers. If somebody asks you a joke and gave you the setup and not the punchline, you want to know. You can't help, but you want to know. So what they're doing is they're playing on your curiosity to keep you watching. And all the shows do it now. But it's kind of silly when you think about it. See, if I had a people meter in my house, they would be assuming that I want renovation shows and quiz shows and stuff. But I'm not really interested in them. Because if my curiosity is the only gauge of what I like, then that would suggest that I like car accidents. Because if there's a car accident on the road, generally I'll be going, oh, Jeff, what's going on? Is everybody okay? You want to know? You're curious. So if the network executives were running the country, they'd be going, they want more car accidents. Forget the TAC, bring on the road toll. We want more of this. That's completely stupid logic. So in answer to the question, why do we keep watching? A lot of the time it's because of pure curiosity. Soap operas do it, all those sort of shows do play on that basic factor. Of course, the other question is, why do we watch in the first place? And I guess if you really analyse that, that comes down to one point. We watch TV because it's there. Yeah, it's in the corner, it sits there, we've grown up with it. We watch TV because it's there, which is interesting, because that's exactly the same reason that Edmund Hillary climbed Everest. Because it's there. So, I don't know, maybe if we didn't have TV sets, we'd all be out climbing mountains. I don't know. But yeah, so when you combine those two factors, that we watch TV because it's there, and we keep watching because of curiosity, that's when you end up with reality TV. Alright, now this is what happened a few years ago. They came up with the reality TV thing, we all tuned in, we were watching because there was nothing else on, and we kept watching because of curiosity. We wanted to know who's going next and what's going on, and they kept hyping this sort of stuff up. Of course, the networks had got all excited, and they thought, it's fantastic, people love this reality stuff, let's get more reality in. And that's what they did, they just kept pumping out the reality, thinking that that's why we were watching. But we weren't, we were watching because of curiosity, and there was nothing else on, right? So, but of course they didn't really care at the end of the day, because as long as we were watching, they didn't care if we were watching because of curiosity, because of the reality factor, because the pictures in our head told us, it's making money, and it worked out really well for them, because they were saving shitloads of money. Because basically if they made one show, take something like Big Brother, they got like 10 hours of programming out of that a week, which is amazing, because they also conveniently contributed to their Australian content quota. So from one show, they've got like this huge thing, and plus with the money they made off SMS voting, and with the sponsorship that they laid on top of it. Like if you take something like Survivor too, this is the other ridiculous thing. Like I said, they wanted the reality, they reckoned that was part of it. But where's the reality really in something like that? Survivor's ridiculous. So you have 12 people, they're stranded on an island, right? Do you think if 12 people got stranded on an island, they'd end up competing against each other in contests that are a cross between Gilligan's Island and It's a Knockout? I also seriously doubt that they then have a ballot to work out, to vote somebody off the island. I mean, after all, if there's a way off the island, you're not really stranded, are you? And also, if two guys swap wives for a month, I seriously doubt that they come away wiser and more understanding of their partner. I think they come away looking like a creepy bunch of weirdos. And as for Australian Idol, I can assure you that wasn't reality either, because basically what they did there, they took thousands of applicants, to give somebody a recording contract and turn them into a pop star, and not one person had to perform fellatio to get there. Again, totally not reality. But like I said, they didn't care, they kept pumping it out because it worked out well for them. They saved a lot of money, because networks are run by accountants. And so they don't care. If they get a show for cheap, well, they're very happy with that, because they can generate heaps and heaps of money off a single show. Like I said, the reality factor, for some reason, the whole world sort of got crazy on it, and they kept sort of importing all these shows. And Steve, what are you doing? What is it, Steve? Oh, hang on, sorry. I think I've got it set to AD. Hang on. I asked for interactive TV. I think they gave me a hyperactive TV. But I'll just what's going on? Steve, Oh. Stevie's bored. You see, because I've been rabbiting on, telling you a whole lot of sort of stuff about, the truth, and see, TVs don't like that. TVs want things to be entertaining, don't they? It's got to be all groovy and whizzy and music and good-looking people and stuff. You can't handle the fact that we just want to tell people information. We've got to package it up and everybody's looking at you instead of me, aren't they? Alright, you in. We'll move on. We'll talk about something you want to do. We'll give him something to do. We'll talk about TV commercials. Now, again, like I said, they're very annoying. We do tend to find them quite annoying. But the thing is, the truth is that we need advertising. If it wasn't for TV commercials, we wouldn't have TV. They provide the money to allow the shows to happen, basically. So basically, they've become a bit of a necessary evil. A little bit like a kebab when you're drunk. Right? And because the ads are getting more annoying, but when I was working at Channel 9, I was working in the on-air department, which meant I dealt directly with a lot of the commercials. The one complaint we got most of all, and the one question I got asked most of all, is how come the ads are louder than the shows? But most people tend to feel that the ads are louder than the shows. Well, the truth is, they're not. Technically. And that's kind of the trick. So we, again, like I said, I work in the on-air department. Now, my job was to put the ads in. We actually set the levels for the ads and the shows in exactly the same way. There was no preference, there was no bias. The problem isn't actually the volume of the ads and the shows, the problem is actually content. If you think about most of the shows you watch, generally they involve just people talking to each other, right? The loudest thing that might happen is maybe a gunshot or a car chase, maybe an explosion or something like that. Whatever the loudest point is in a show is where we set what's called the peak level. And we do the same with the ad. To try and demonstrate this a bit more, Stevie, we'll give you something to do. Do you want to maybe find me just like a basic scene from something, just like a soap opera or something, doesn't really matter. And then just play the basic scene and just put the audio meters up for us. And what we'll do is we'll watch the scene through and see if we can spot the loudest point in the particular scene.
What are you trying to say?
I don't know. I'm going out of my mind here. I think I have to go.
Well, if you have to go, go now. But just tell me why.
Because I know your ex-boyfriend is still a distraction for you. He's always coming between us, demanding your attention.
That's crazy. He's not a distraction.
Okay!
hopefully you spotted the loudest point in that scene, and you would have noticed the meters sort of peaked up into the red there. Alright, we should compare that with an ad. Steve, do you want to play us just a basic ad again with the audio meters? We'll just have a look at that, quick look at that.
It's the greatest sale ever at the Melbourne Exhibition Centre. We've got cars, boats, clothing, shoes, furniture, food, doorknobs. It's all got to go. Old corks, pencil sharpeners, shoelaces, artificial limbs, wild animals, something I found on the street, tyres, hearing aids, pillowcases, breast implants, Brazilian rainforests, exhibition centres, a huge range of ex-soap stars, 50, 60, 70, 83.56 and 143% of all items. It's all here and it's all got to go by midnight tonight. Come on down and grab yourself a bargain. There's the Melbourne Exhibition Centre by midnight tonight. There won't be another sale like this for at least a week, so get on down now.
Alright, thanks. Well done, Stevie. Good pick. Okay, I think you've probably noticed on that. The audio meters tended to hang in the red for a lot longer, but they didn't actually exceed the red, so they're actually technically not louder than the shows. The ads, of course, the people who produce the ads know that, and so they just maintain that peak level for as long as they can. They also use little tricks like using high frequency or mid frequency sound effects and music and voices for this reason. Your ears are far more receptive to mid frequency and high frequency sounds. To put that into context for you, just think about this. When you talk under your breath, generally you use a low voice. You might say something like, "He's a bit of a dickhead." You generally don't hear people going, "He's a bit of a dickhead," because he's likely to hear you, right? So that's what they do. They play on that. And so basically, in answer to the question of the ads loud on the shows, there's really not much that we can do as technicians or anything else to fix that. Short of, I don't know, maybe making the shows a bit more like the ads, perhaps. Steve, how would that work?
What are you trying to say?
I don't know. I'm going out of my mind here. I think I have to go. It all has to go.
Well, you have to go now. Why wait? But just tell me why.
I know your ex-boyfriend is still a distraction for you. He's always coming between us, demanding your attention.
That's crazy, crazy, crazy. He's not a distraction.
Not a me, not a me, not a me, not a me.
Hopefully that cleared that up. So yes, the ads of course are getting more annoying, there's a reason for that, and they're also getting dumber. I think what's happening is basically companies aren't spending the amount of money that they used to on commercials, and they're not giving the advertising companies as much money to be creative. So the ads have got a bit dumber. I mean, there's some really stupid ads on TV at the moment. The one in particular that's caught my eye is one that starts with this love heart and the words love and commitment on it, and then the woman comes on and goes, rid of the guys. Let's talk about thrush. Yeah, see that? What's with the whole love and commitment thing at the start of that? I'm thinking if a woman comes on TV and goes, let's talk about thrush, I think the guy's going to leave the room. We're not hanging around for that. We don't want to know. But the reason the ads are getting dumber and cheaper is because, like I said, companies don't want to spend the money. They've worked out that the ratings are a bit of a joke, and so they've found better ways to spend their advertising dollar. They're doing things like product placement. Now, if anybody watched Sex and the City, you'd know that they constantly refer to a whole heap of products, you know, all the shows, even the Big Brother shows and stuff, they've always got specific products that they use in the thing, and so product placement's more effective. And this isn't a new idea. This has been around for a long time. It was learned long ago that kids respond really well to advertising on TV, and it's a great way to sell to kids. In fact, in 1966 in the US, the company Mattel actually did the maths and realised that it was cheaper for them to produce a half-hour animated cartoon series than to produce a TV commercial. So they came up with the Hot Wheels cartoon series. Now, the Hot Wheels cartoon series was to sell the little cars. Unfortunately for them, the FCC stepped in and said, you can't do that, that's not fair, it's not really ethical for the kids. Unfortunately, in 1983, that ban got lifted, allowing Mattel to get back into the market and make shows that were just there to sell toys to kids. The first one was Masters of the Universe. And that pretty much spurned a whole range of shows from toy companies all over the place. We had the Smurfs, the Transformers, Strawberry Shortcake, Care Bears, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just to name a few. There was actually a whole heap of them. Of course, as a kid, I had no idea, and I just faithfully ran out and bought all the toys. I had all the Strawberry Shortcake figurines. It's not so good. Now in Australia, we never had laws to ban that sort of practice. In fact, if anything, in Australia, the government encourages selling to children. It's a pretty well-known fact that the ABC, and especially the ABC shop, was single-handedly saved by the Bananas in Pyjamas. The Bananas in Pyjamas, of course, had a huge merchandise range, done very, very well, and it gave the government the perfect excuse to reduce the funding for our national broadcaster. Now if you watch the ABC's children's lineup, you'll basically see a whole heap of shows that are thinly disguised as children's toys, under the guise of education. Of course, Channel 9, not to miss the boat, they've got their own particular shows. They've got High Five, and my personal favourite, the Cushion Kids. It's a true show, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't know what they were thinking about when they came up with that one. Yeah, still, I suppose, as far as lounge room furnishings go, at least they went with the cushion kits and not the ports. The Wiggles already had that tied up. But it does raise an interesting point. You see, if you look at the Australian television history, and especially children's television in Australia, we've got a really rich history on it, and a very good history. Everything from Mr. Squiggle right through to the Bananas and Jums and the Wiggles have done extraordinarily well. And there are all these crazy ideas, you know, Men from Outer Space and Dancing Fruit and all this sort of stuff. And it's made huge amounts of money in both merchandise and in overseas sales. So it's you know, actually brought money into the country and generated extra business for the local production industry, all that sort of stuff, which I find fascinating. Because the weird thing is that's in the children's department. But for some reason, when Australians get to make adult programs, we have no ideas. There's no imagination used. We have, you know, keep just churning out the same old stuff. We never make any shows that sell very well overseas. There's certainly no merchandise from it. So rather than make shows and sell them overseas, we're buying ideas in and we're buying in shows from overseas. So we're actually taking money away from the local production industry, which is really, really sad. So yeah, and of course in the old days too, the networks were able to steal ideas or buy ideas in from like the ABC. The ABC, oh sorry, yeah, I should put down this book. Thanks, Stevie. Got these keep track of the show. Yes, a good example of them not using their imagination was American Rosso show from a few years back. Channel 9 very kindly gave American Rosso their home show. Yes, I did steal his shirt. They go through their own show. Now these guys have been around for a long time and they've got some good ideas, but the network wasn't happy to give them, you know, the free rein of what they want to do with their show. They thought they'd better buy an idea in from overseas. So they brought in a format from England, from a show called Baddiel and Skinner Unplanned. Now, Baddiel and Skinner, two well-known comics in the UK, their show basically involved them sitting on a couch, talking to the audience, taking questions. They had somebody from the audience come up and act as a secretary and write down everything they talked about. They had a piano where they did a little song number at the end of the show. And of course, Channel 9 brought this format in, thinking, oh, this is a successful show. Then they decided, you know what, the piano thing's a bit much, and the secretary thing's kind of in the way. So basically what happened was the Nine Network paid over $1 million for the idea of two guys sitting on a couch. This is true. I reckon I would have given them that idea for about $20. The silliest bit about it is, to be honest, because formats are so, you know, tenuous when you think of the creativity behind them. They could have put the guys in rocking chairs, they could have had them sitting on stools, they could have had them just standing up, and they would have been able to save all their money. They wouldn't have had to spend a cent on the format. But they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to take the risk. You see, because clearly the couch is the key to the show's success. Now there's a reason they do that. If you're a network executive and you've probably got your job through nepotism and rather than actual skill, and you know deep down that you really have no idea what's a good TV show, you've got choices. You can either take a risk on a brand new concept that somebody's brought to you, a brand new format, or you can buy an idea in from overseas. Now here's what happens. If you take a risk on a new idea that hasn't been tried before, and that idea fails, that's your high-powered job on the line right there, right? If you buy an idea from overseas and it fails, well, that's a different story. Then it's like, oh, gee, I don't know what went wrong. My Igloo Rules was a huge hit in Greenland. Maybe we didn't promo it correctly. And you live to drive your Saab another day. Yeah, unfortunately that's what happens. And like I said, you know, this is what they do now. They buy ideas and improve overseas. But in the old days, of course, they used to be able to buy ideas, or at least steal ideas from the ABC. And so at least they came from within Australia. Because in the good old days, of course, the ABC had funding to try new things and come up with all sorts of amazing shows. I don't know how old you guys are. I don't know if everyone remembers in the 80s shows like Blah Blah Blah, Australia You're Standing in It, the original D-Gen. It launched careers for all sorts of people, and they were out there shows. I mean, Andrew Denton's Blah 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 was a really out there thing. Flacco came from that, all that sort of thing. And shows like that would never get made in the current climate. There's no way the ABC would take a risk on a show like that because they just don't have the money to take those sort of risks. So the networks, of course, don't really have anywhere to steal them from. They're starting to actually turn now to other sources for their ideas. One place they're starting to look is Channel 31. Of course, Channel 31, you can pretty much do what you like on there. Oh, sorry, Stevie, Channel 31 should look a bit different to that, mate. Yeah, that's better. Of course, Rove came from Channel 31, Hamish and Andy came across from there, Bloke's World has just gone on Channel 10. The Fish are still waiting for their big break. It's a matter of time. You know, I always thought Channel 31 really missed the boat with the whole reality TV thing, you know. I mean, here's Big Brother's going to be in its 5th season this year, it's generated millions of dollars now. I really think all Channel 31 had to do was once a week, live on air, scoop a fish out of the tank. You know, they could have made a fortune, but, you know. Anyway. So yeah, basically, from the upshot of all this is over the last 20 years or so, the Australian production industry in particular has had a bit of a kicking. It's had a lot of money drawn out of it, and it's really floundering a bit in the production states, which is a shame. But that doesn't mean we have to forget about it. In fact, we have to still take the time out to recognise the contribution of our local producers and technicians and stuff. And that's why we have the Logie Awards. Now, the Logie Awards, of course, once upon a time were a very prestigious award. It was something worth having. It's kind of lost its ilk a bit, because basically what happened was TV Week started them way back when TV Week was the only TV guide around. So everybody pretty much read TV Week. So when they voted on it, obviously it was a large voting base. Now, of course, not many people really read TV Week, nowhere near the numbers. Anybody here actually voted for Logies before? No? Now, see, you really should exercise your democratic right, ladies and gentlemen. You know, in some countries, they don't get to choose their personalities. In some countries, they have a dictator who tells them who the best new male talent is. You know, it's very sad. So please make sure you do vote. But of course, when I'm talking about the loss in prestige too, I should point out I'm really talking more about the silver Logie rather than the gold Logie. The gold Logie, of course, is still worth aspiring to. Just ask John Wood. But the silver Logie, unfortunately, has lost a bit of its shine. And if you talk to people in the industry, you'll realise that it is actually a bit of a joke. That nobody takes them very seriously. So basically, I think what should happen is they probably should award a silver Logie to the best performance in the acceptance of a silver Logie. Because it'll probably be the best bit of acting you'll ever actually do in your career. I mean, after all, it's not like you could tell the truth. That would be weird. Wow. You know, it's really just an embarrassment to be nominated. But this is truly humiliating. Thanks for nothing. Yes, the old Logie lost a bit of its shine there. I might actually just leave it out there because I spent all the time making that for a 2-second gag. Got too much fun on my hand. So yes, now I should point out too, if you do happen to win on the gold Logie, I'll just give you one little tip. The gold Logie, of course, if you do win one, make sure you keep it polished. Very important, because of the gold Logie being gold, if you don't keep polished, it tarnishes, goes green, and well then, nobody really wants that in their pool room. So there you go. Now, over the last few years, my main experience in television has been in TV news. Now, TV news is very interesting, and for many years it's been held up as the flagship of the station. The idea is that people watch your news, they'll generally stick around and watch the rest of your lineup. Now, the news is interesting too, because there's a lot of competition there. We had, like Channel 10 for a long time have been at 5 o'clock with their slogan, Channel 10, first at 5, which was pretty good up until recently, because now Channel 7 and 9 both have news at 4:30. And 10 haven't changed their promos. I guess Channel 10, third at 5, doesn't really have the same strength. But poor old Channel 10 are kind of been backed into a corner a bit. They've got really nowhere to move. They can't go any earlier, because if they would go earlier, say if they went to like 4 o'clock, unfortunately they'd be into what's called C classification programming, which is exclusively for children. And that would be a pretty massive rejigging of their format. So what would the news look like, I think, if they went to 4 o'clock?
Good afternoon, I'm David Clark with the Australian National News. Our top story today is Indonesia and the retrial of suspected terrorist Abu Bugs Bunny Bashir. Bashir faced court today on charges of conspiracy relating to the 2002 Barney bombings. Bashir was found guilty and sentencing will take place in only 2 sleeps.
Yes, well there you go. That little joke there was kind of a bit of a test for the audience too. You didn't respond very well. I guess there's not too many fans of the pun in here. If you are a fan, does everybody want to admit that they like a good pun? If you do like puns, the news is a great place to find them. Journalists on the TV news love their puns. They can't help themselves. You'll often see, especially in those sort of fluffy light stories they have at the end of the news, they just can't help themselves. You often hear things like, it was a case of seeing double today when the Twins convention came to town. You know, shit like that. Or, well, it was monkey business at the Melbourne Zoo with the birth of a baby gorilla. You know, they can't help themselves. Which I think is fine. I just wish that they'd use those skills, maybe use them in the more serious stories, just help with the news a little bit. I'd like to see stories like Protesters in South Korea today got a bit hot under the collar when they set themselves on fire in defiance of the Japanese government. The inflammatory protest blocked access to the Japanese embassy for a number of hours. Workers at the embassy were slightly inconvenienced. Meanwhile, the protesters themselves were completely put out. Favourite joke of the show. But of course, news too is interesting. They have some strange priorities. The weather, they seem to spend a lot of time on the weather, which I find interesting. I'm not sure how that started about, because weather isn't really that relevant to our life. When you talk about weather in your own life, it's very rare. Usually you'll only talk about the weather when you're stuck in a conversation with somebody that's going nowhere. You know, you got nothing to say. You'll end up sort of doing the old, nice weather we're having. You'll hang around for longer. That's why it gets about as good as it gets. But for some reason the news, they love their weather, they just can't help it. I think what happened was years ago, probably about 20 years ago or whatever, they were doing the news and they had about half an hour to fill and they got to about 20 minutes and realised they had no more news. There were two newsreaders sitting awkwardly at the desk. Nice weather we're having. And from there it grew into this monstrosity that it is today. Because they find it quite interesting, because what do? What do? They tell you how hot it was today. We were there. Is there anybody who didn't notice? You know, there are people at home that are going, 33? Oh, that's why I was hot! Oh, I had the jumpers on, I don't know what I was thinking. But then, dumber than that, they tell you how hot it was in places where you weren't. Like, how could that be relevant? Even if you know somebody in these places. I was 25 and mild in Adelaide today. Oh, Uncle Jim would have been comfortable. It's completely irrelevant. And because the thing is too, they, like Channel 7, they advertise their weather guy as being like this experienced meteorologist, which is all great for him. But then you just flick over to Channel 9 and there's Lavinia Nixon doing exactly the same job, you know? Like, she's got no qualifications, so seriously, I think they've lost a bit of the importance there. But news, of course, is also very specific to the certain demographics that each station has. For example, Channel 9 take their news very seriously because generally their audience is the 45 plus bracket, right? So the news has to be serious and hard-hitting. Channel 7 are kind of floating in the middle at the moment and they've kind of gone for the more local focus, so they tend to go for the more Melbourne-centric stories. If it matters to Melbourne, it matters to 7, it's kind of their principle. 10, of course, generally have the younger audience, the 16 to 34-year-old market, so generally they won't let a serious issue or a big story get in the way of a good fashion parade. Or a story about Australian Idol. Channel 10, of course, like I said, do have the young audience, and now if you're a TV network and you want to capture the young audience and have them there, you know, you obviously want to be hip, cool and groovy for the kids. And the way you become hip, cool and groovy for the kids is you tell people, we're hip, cool and groovy. And they do that through graphics and music and good-looking people and stuff, and it's worked very well for them for a long, long time. Channel 7, unfortunately, have had a lot of trouble in the past trying to work out what demographic they fitted into. They tried to battle with Channel 9 for many, many years and really didn't have much success. But they're actually doing very well this year. They're actually topping the ratings this year for the first time in pretty much their history. It's strange though, because they started stealing the audience away from Channel 10, but they didn't do it by being all hip, cool and groovy. They did it with something very weird. At the start of this year, they started a promotional campaign, which was not only surreal, but completely defied all logic. And for some reason it worked. You may have seen this particular character earlier this year. Yes, the freaky little TV thing. What the hell was that? Like, they got so many complaints about this because nobody could work out what they were trying to say. It was like, we're looking at this thing going, is that a kid in there? That's not right. Because in one hand it's like rolling around on the beach with a guy. That's, you know, another one is kissing a girl and going out to dinner and serenading and like, what are they trying to say here? Channel 7, you're underage bisexual slut network, you know, like it's just, I don't know what they were trying to say, but you know, obviously they, Stevie, you got a bit dark, mate, you alright? You haven't dropped your table out again, have you? You alright? Get a bit... Oh, Stevie had a crush on Channel 7, see? Oh, come on, mate. You know, I know. Okay, I've just called her whatever it is, a slut. But, you know, like, come on, man, you can do better than that. You're a good-looking domestic appliance. Well, I tell you what, after the show, we'll go out, we'll have a few drinks. I'll hook you up with a, you know, a nice VCR or something. Right? Those new set-top boxes, maybe, right? No? Oh, okay. I know, I'll cheer him up. Stevie loves a good TV joke. I've got some good ones for you, Stevie. You might like these. Here we go. A plasma TV walks into a bar and the barman says, hey, why the wide screen? made a speech for the Antenna Man conference last week. Yeah, got a great reception. Okay, I know you'll like this one. How many Channel 9 executives does it take to change a light bulb? None, because they're too afraid if they change it, they'll alienate their older demographic. Hey! Steve, you like that one? Good on you. He always likes a good joke about Channel 9. He's not one of their fans. That's cool. Excellent. All right, so you're good. We can move on. We can get on. Excellent. All right, we'll talk a bit more about how the networks focus on their particular audience. Because one thing that the stations have to do as well, of course, is advertise their own shows. Now, of course, what they call promos are turning up everywhere now. They've kind of taken over the TV. You know, they're over the credits now, and they pop up halfway through the show, and they're in the middle, and they're all, you know, they're everywhere. And the reason they do that, as annoying as it is because it works. The more we're made aware of the shows, the more we watch them. I don't really know why. They had, you know, they also do things what's called cross promotion. And that's where you'll often, you know, look on a talk show, they'll suddenly start interviewing somebody from one of their hit TV series, you know, earlier on the night or whatever, or they'll do things like suddenly the auditions of Australian Idol is suddenly a really important news story, and they, you know, or they have a guest in the Big Brother house, all that sort of stuff. It's called cross promotion, and it works because the way they have to promote their shows, like I said, is very specific to, again, to their demographic. Because the shows that they have on each station are pretty much the same. It's just the way that they spin it to access their audience. And just to give you an illustration, what we might do is, if you want to find us another basic scene from that same soap opera or whatever, and we'll just watch the scene through. It's just a basic scene, just to prove that, you know, the same sort of show can be angled differently.
How's the tennis going?
It's over.
Oh, would you like a cup of coffee?
I think we've run out.
Oh, damn. I really need a cup of coffee.
So go down to the shop and get some more.
Fine. I'll be back in a while.
Quality Australian drama right there, ladies and gentlemen. Logie Award winning. Now, what we'll do is let's have a look at how Channel 7 might promo a scene like that.
Tonight, there's trouble in paradise.
It's over.
Could this be the end for Jake and Felicity? Find out tonight on 7.
Alright, the same scene, let's see how Channel 9 would treat it.
You just never know when it might happen. High drama tonight on 9.
Fair enough. And Channel 10, how would they take an angle on that?
Life's full of questions. Will she give him the answer he's looking for? Or will he walk away? The hottest new show on TV. You won't want to miss a second. Seriously.
So there you go. You can see the same scene, just treated slightly differently. And while we're here, Steve, do you want to just run back to the Channel 9 thing, just the end card of the Channel 9 thing? There we go. Excellent. Thanks. And you've probably all seen the Channel 9, the way they promo with their banners and the little animated balls and stuff. Does anybody happen to notice that some days, or sometimes they're different colours, like sometimes they're yellow, sometimes they're red and stuff? Anybody notice that? Yeah? Anybody, you want to guess why that is? Don't know. Yeah. Haven't thought about it. Yeah. Truth is, Channel 9 have a different colour for every day of the week. Yeah, absolutely. I was shocked too. It's true. 7 days of the week, there's 7 colours of the rainbow. So Channel 9 have a different colour. So what they do is like, the idea is this, like on Sunday it's red. So when you watch TV, Channel 9 on Sunday, all the banners and all the balls and stuff will be red. The reason for that? 60 Minutes has a red logo, and the idea is that's supposed to correlate with 60 Minutes. Monday night is blue to match Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Tuesday is violet or purple to match CSI. Not sure why. Wednesday is orange to match McLeod's Daughters because of the sunsets and the fields. And, yeah. On Thursday it's indigo or light blue to match the sky and water of Getaway. And Friday is green to match Burke's Backyard, which has been axed. And Saturday is yellow for funniest home videos, again for no real reason. I guess they have to fit the colours in there somewhere. So yeah, the idea, I'm not quite sure what they do. They spent lots of money on this. When I was working in the R&D department, we had to make sure that if the show was, you know, on Wednesday, that the promo had the right colours to match that day and all that sort of stuff. And nobody has noticed. They have spent millions of dollars on this. You know, some creative guru came up with this whole concept, hey, let's have a different colour for every day of the week. And nobody has ever paid any attention. And in fact, Channel 9's ratings have actually fallen since they started doing this. I don't know what they were thinking. I think maybe they thought they'd get into our subconscious, perhaps. Maybe they thought, you know, you'd be waiting at the traffic lights and going, I really should watch 60 Minutes on Sunday. Meanwhile, the guy behind us going, hey, it's Burke's Backyard, mate, get out of the way! Maybe that's what's going on. So anyway, you'll be fascinated to see that when you go home, watch Channel 9, get your little colour chart, and you'll be able to work out what day of the week it is. It's fascinating stuff. Now, one thing I really wanted to explore in the show was the history of Australian television. Unfortunately, due to time restrictions, we just can't really go into it. But I will point out one little bit of Australian television history for you. The first moments of television in Australia, quite a well-known moment. Bruce Gyngell, you got Bruce there? Bruce Gyngell and the first moments of television. He uttered the famous words, "Good evening and welcome to television." Now, a lot of people might have seen this footage, and I wanted to show you that footage tonight. Unfortunately, to get the rights for it was going to cost a few $100s, really couldn't afford it. But then, while I was researching the show, I found out something rather disturbing. The footage that they show and tout as the first moments of Australian television is a fake. That's right, the first moments of television is actually, that they show, this particular footage is a reenactment they made in 1957 to celebrate the first anniversary of television. The reason? They lost the original footage. It's no longer in existence. But rather than admit they lost it, they've just been churning out the same old reenactment for nearly 50 years now, and it's a complete fake. Okay, so it's not like they faked the moon landing, but to me, I was pretty upset, right? And I thought, well, there's no way I'm spending money on a worthless reenactment, which is why at the start of the show, those who were here might have just noticed my own worthless reenactment. So yes, there you go. Who can spot the difference? I don't know. Now, but I think it's kind of symbolic though that the first moments of television have actually been corrupted. That the history of television in a lot of ways has become a bit of a fraud because television has lost its way. It's sad to say, but it's sort of fallen away. And the thing that I find amazing about that is that if you talk to the network executives and those in power, they still talk about the golden years of television. They still hold up the great icons of Australian television. They talk about people like Graham Kennedy, Bert Newton, and Norman Gunston, Paul Hogan. To a lesser degree, Stephen Jacobs. You realise how many audiences don't know who that is. But yeah, they talk about the golden years of television, and they admire these guys for the same reason we all did. These guys never played by the rules, they just did whatever they wanted, and it was crazy and out there, but it always worked. But of course these guys didn't play by the rules. There weren't any rules when TV started. It was a whole new thing. They didn't know what it was, or where it was going, or what it was supposed to be, so they could do what they liked. And it was great, it was innovative, it was different, and it was entertaining. The sad bit is, and I think where TV has really lost its way over the years, is that some idiot somewhere along the way decided to write the rules. And now, of course, nothing happens in television unless it complies to the rules. I thought I might just go through some of them. I thought I might actually just outline the 10 commandments of television for you tonight. So what I might do is, because they're a bit, I think we need a bit of mood lighting perhaps. Stevie, do you want to find us some appropriate backing there while we do the 12? Yeah, oh, very nice. Excellent. All right, the 10 commandments. Thou shalt have no other network before thee. Remember to keep holy the Sabbath ratings period. Thou shalt create many false idols via SMS voting. Thou shalt honour thy owner and shareholders and deny thy viewers. Thou shalt kill any show that fails to rate in the first 3 weeks. Thou shalt covet thy competitors' key demographics. Should thou have a quality drama or comedy show, it wilt have a shifting late night time slot such that no potential viewer can work out when it is on. Then it mysteriously will be taken off without notice. Failing that, the series must be played out of order to induce confusion. Thou wilt deny the existence of shift workers and never program anything decent after midnight. A person is automatically a celebrity if you put them in a show that has the word celebrity in the title. This also applies for stars. And finally, Sundays are for sport, and for sport only. Anyone who does not like sport shall be doomed to watch opera on the ABC. Here endeth the lesson. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why television has fallen away, because they've put these rules in place and they've cramped it, and you're confining television into some kind of shape which really doesn't resemble what it's supposed to be. And it's sad too, because even though we don't personally pay for TV out of our pockets, we all own TV. TV belongs to everyone. And the reason for that is because TV, in a lot of ways, has become our mass consciousness. It defines our commonality. You know what I mean? Like, you think about the way we see the world, the way we talk to each other, the way we dress, it's all kind of influenced by television. And television has an amazing power, and the reason television has so much power is because basically 99% of Australian households currently have TVs in their house. Now, of course, there's 1% that don't have TVs, but they're a bunch of self-righteous wankers. who do stupid things like talk to each other and learn by reading. Freaks. But the rest of us watch TV. And so TV has a lot of power, you know, like another example is in the early 90s, only 5% of Australians had shares in businesses. Then, of course, in the mid-90s came along Paul Clitheroe and the show Money. Paul did a great job of explaining how to invest in shares. And after his show aired, they had basically the number of Australian people who invested in shares rose to 30%, currently giving Australia the highest per capita number of shareholders in the world. And it can be all basically linked back to Mr. Clitheroe. Of course, Bunnings as well, they have almost trebled their income stream thanks to all the renovation shows, the huge renovation craze went through. So too the real estate industry has done very well at that, because now they can pretty much upload any rat-infested shit boxes that renovators delight, and and that has its own consequences. You know, that artificially pushes up the price of the market, it draws more people into investing and taking on large mortgages. Then when an election comes up, suddenly it's being fought on interest rates rather than an illegal war in Iraq. So if somebody tries to tell you that TV is trivial, or if you ever think that TV is trivial, no, it's not. It has a lot of power. And that's where I think it's a bit sad. We believe everything that's on TV. Of course, I find it interesting too, because like I said, we all watch TV because we kind of know it's there. And in some ways, TV's kind of become a bit like junk food. You know, we tend to watch it, we know it's bad for us, but well, it's there, and it's convenient, and it's easy to digest. But I think it's interesting that that McDonald's and Hungry Jack's and that has started to have to offer healthy alternatives, because they're suddenly being brought into account for the health of the nation. And I think it's about time that the TV stations were brought into the same thing, because really they're responsible for the cultural health of our nation. And if they don't start providing some healthy alternatives, we're all going to just, basically be malnutritioned in a lot of ways. But like I said, because TV has that sort of power, and we believe celebrities too. You know, if somebody's on TV, there's this sense that they're more important than everybody else. And I think that's because, like I said, TV has this sort of power. I think that by being a celebrity or being on TV, you assume a certain amount of that power, and that's where the status comes from, which is probably why people want to be on TV. And deep down, that's probably why I want to be on TV. I'd love to be on TV. I'd certainly round out my little career path that's been controlled by TV. It'd be perfect. But also, I guess I'd also like a bit of power there. I'd love to be able to change things on TV. It would be great. But of course, getting on TV isn't that easy, and I've tried. I've tried all sorts of things. I started off with the basics. You know, I went to found a live cross on the news, stood in the background and gave it a bit of a wave. Well, it sort of worked. Not on TV, but it's not something I'm going to be putting on my resume. Third dickhead behind Mike Lark in 2002. It doesn't quite work. So I tried a few other things. I wanted to go on a game show. I thought that might be a good avenue. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite smart enough for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and wasn't mental enough for Price is Right. So that was a no-go though. I thought, working in the networks, I sort of maybe I could work my way up and take over the networks that way, but that takes time, and megalomaniacs like me really don't have that sort of patience. And then I thought reality TV. When that came along, I thought, great, my chance, finally. Because the beauty of reality TV is the dickheads always seem to win, didn't they? I thought, perfect, I can do that, I'm a dickhead. Of course, the problem with dickheads, as I found out, there always seems to be a bigger one around, doesn't there? So that turned into a dead end as well. And so I was basically at a bit of a loss as what I was going to do to get on TV. Late night came a problem and stuff, it still hasn't quite broken through for me. But then I thought, when I started to think about some of the influences in my life, and I realised that one of the biggest influences growing up was the show The Goodies. Who remembers The Goodies? How good were The Goodies, yeah? And I saw them recently live, and it just all came floating back, and I realised, how great these guys were. And it suddenly occurred to me how easy it is to get on TV. I don't know why I just wasn't thinking like those guys would have thought. This is how you get on TV. Alright, Stevie, this is going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt me, alright? Is that alright? I think I look pretty good in here, just quietly. Even with the extra 10 kilos added. Oh, I should point out too, I know I've been very critical of television tonight, but please don't get me wrong, I love television. I always have. And I couldn't imagine a world without it. I mean, what the hell would people talk about if we didn't have TV? I guess the big question is, what does the future hold for television? Where's it going? Are the network executives ever going to realise the error of their ways and start programming some decent shows full of variety and creativity and innovation? And what can we do as individuals, as viewers, to make a difference, to make things change? Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. And we'll find out the answer to that question next week. In the meantime, while I'm in here, I can pretty much do what I like.
I think it's time I showed those network bozos how it's supposed to be done. Stevie, let's make a show.
Boom, 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 boom. It's Gav's World. Is anybody here? Of course not. It's Gav's World. What zany adventures can I get up to today? I know. I'm going to watch some TV. Here we go. Wouldn't you know it? There's nothing on. Bit hot in there. Well, what do you think of that show, eh? Come on, it's better than Dancing with the Stars. You've got to give me that, alright? Alright. Oh. Shit, sorry, Steve, you didn't hear that? Probably. So yes, so now I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you've learned a few things. Unfortunately, like I said, we are out of time, which is a real shame. There were so many things that I really wanted to cover tonight and explain to you all. Just to give you an idea of all the stuff that got cut out in order to try and fit the show into an hour. This is all real. This was all originally in the show. Originally meant for 5 hours, but thank you so much for coming out. And I love talking about this sort of stuff. If anybody sees me in the bar on the street and wants to have a chat, I'm more than happy to answer your questions or discuss whatever. A couple of questions that have been asked, so I just wanted to get fair enough. Yes, I did actually create all the video for this show. I've got way too much time on my hands. Except for the animated newsreader, which was drawn by Damien Clark, who has a fantastic show called Lasered on Thick at 9:45 at Duckboard House. Highly recommend that. And the other question I get asked was I really on Today Tonight? Yes, I was. I didn't get to meet Naomi Robson, but the book is real and it's for sale out the front of the town hall. If you really want to get a copy of and find out what people really want to do if they run the country. Apart from that, I just need you guys to give me a huge round of applause for Lindy, our wonderful tech, who's done a fantastic job with the show. And of course,